will present a new residential project in Antwerp that we've been working with the last couple of years, Block 16. It's located in southwest of Antwerp, close by the Schelde River. It's a new developing area here with a lot of new residential projects. So we are a part of that. It's a building site. Half of the project or the land has already been developed by different architects. The client is Triple Living, and our local partners, engineers, has been Bureau Bouwtechniek. That also is actually sitting in our building on the ground floor in the office space. So this is just from Google Earth. It's, I guess, a year old, this image, but this white box here is the building that we've been working with. It's a rather long plot, approximately 100 or 90 millimeter long, and not so, like 60 meters wide, stretching from the river, from the north to the south, and it's a residential project in 6 floors. When I was approached, or we got the commission to do the project, I did the first draft of some kind of generic structure for a residential building. Since there was really not, I mean, this is not this developing residential area is sort of not a traditional city block prolonging of the city center. It's a more building in a landscape or building in a park with building freestanding buildings as objects, a more modernistic take on a developing area. So I sort of had to find some kind of references in terms of volumes, and since the property itself had a really distinct and long character or shape, I thought about the icon of a building, and since I'm from Sweden, this is a reference from a chapel at the Woodland Cemetery by Sigurd Leverens, and it's from the mid-20s. It's a very strong, iconic volume with a traditional roof and emphasized entrance, you could say. And that's sort of like one direction or one input in terms of volume. And the other one is the repetition that comes with a residential project, because we have a lot of units, apartments that are similar and the same. So we need to handle a repetition, and at our office there is a beauty in repetition. So this is actually another reference by Sigurd Leverens, the social insurance service building from the beginning of the 30s, I think, in my hometown, Stockholm, which is a closed building. It's a block, city block, with an ellipse-shaped inner courtyard. But what I find really beautiful with this is that the repetition of the building sort of defines the scale, but also that it's very simple put building, but it's also, there's some kind of density with the proportions of the openings in proportion to the amount of facade. There's something very calm and solid with this building that you could sort of use for repetition of apartment units. So this was the first draft. It's approximately 100 meter long volume with perforated with openings. It's just the first way of looking at the building with units. You need to have a certain amount of openings, windows for your living spaces. And if you don't add any decoration or things, this is what you get. It was quite clear from the beginning that since there will have to be single-sided apartments also, that it's a house in a park or in a landscape. It's an object. So I wanted all the facades to be the same value. There's no front and no back. Of course, the most prominent apartments will be towards the river, maybe, but that's also north. So I wanted to have some kind of equal quality of all of the units. And then, just like the chapel, to put the energy or the effort to emphasize the entrances, defining them, and that will be enough to a subtle way to create some detailing or a human scale to the volume. This is actually the absolutely first rendering of the project. The idea was here also that a residential project is today often based on, in a way, here in Sweden, even if it's very cold in the winter, there is a need for a balcony, a terrace. That's you can't build an apartment building like you did in the, in the 40s or earlier without balconies. Today you need a balcony. That's the way it is. So what we did here is that we need huge, quite big openings so that we could fit a terrace inside. Still, we could keep this calm volume and defined volume. But this was rejected by the client. I think it was a little bit too harsh. It's understandable, but we just have to, as architects, we just have to try the vision that we have. I mean, the first draft is often the strongest building. So we had to go back to the drawing table. And what they asked for was larger terraces. This was something that they would sell the apartments with. And it's understandable. So what could we do then? The concept then was just that, okay, we wanted to be this consequent in the way we work. Instead of having a solid volume with perforation or openings, we just invert it or flip it inside out. And this is the result of doing that. So we sort of, instead of having a closed facade, we just, ripped it open. And then it became a more modernistic building. If the earlier building was a little bit more traditional or classicistic, this, I would say, is then a more modernistic way of dealing with the structure. So it's piled floor slabs, defined by pillars, and exposed structure in terms of cores and so on. The thing with this is that doing this, it becomes rather very much more complicated to, you have a concept and idea about an opening structure of a building, but still you have a lot of demands on heating and amount of windows and closed walls and so on. So you can never do a glass building like this. It needed to be much more complex, but I think that in the end that this is it ended up quite well, but different, totally opposite. This is the building as it looks now. I think we started the project 2016 or 17. I don't remember, and it's the first clients moved in this Christmas or January this year. So I have some photos here from my brother Rasmus Norlander. He's an architecture photographer based in Zurich. So this is from the river. You see the gable of the house, and it's quite interesting because this plot is rhomb. I don't know the English word. It's a rhomb. It's not 90-degree corners of the plot. So everything is a little bit skewed or twisted. Therefore, it looks like it's some kind of distorted perspective of the building. Actually, it's just that the gable is a couple of degrees angled towards the longer facades. And you see to the right section of the building, you have 2 underground parking floors, and then you have an office space, and then you have 5 apartment floors and a rooftop. And the parking is extending outside the building. This is the lowest parking floor, and you see the ramp, and you can also see the extended parts. Here we have a bicycle stair and some technical area, and then we have the ramp and the parking lot like this. One thing that has been very important, even if this is an inverted building, it's the grid itself has been very. We have tried hard to follow the grid. The grid is now a bit more complicated, but we wanted all the floors that you really experience the grid and the reason for why the pillars are located where they are and so on. This is a view from the parking, the bicycle stair, and you see the west facade with the terraces. And this is just the first parking floor, garage floor, with some technical area and storage rooms to the west and the ramp. This is the entrance floor, and you can see what I tried to describe before with the gables that are a little bit angled towards the west and east facade, which creates this distorted perspective of the building. We have from east an entrance to the garage, and then we have one big office space actually with one entrance or 2 entrances. So it's possible to divide it. Now there's one client, as I mentioned, Bilbao Technique is using the whole space. And around the building, there's these pillars that is holding the cantilever or the terraces. It's also creating a plinth on the ground floor that is sort of like defining the private space or creating some kind of barrier towards the inner space. This is also works as a terrace, so it's so you can when you pass the car park, you walk up a couple of stairs and then you could go out on the terrace also, and then down here. Otherwise, it's quite straightforward. Here's a view of one of the entrances on the east side. On the east side, there's 4 entrances to the apartments, and they are fenced like this. This is something. It's just a local request that this is the way you handle this in Belgium. You could say that this is. I mean, I could mention that this is our first project, actually, first project abroad. And we are very happy to be able to work in Belgium and also with this client, of course. We find it very interesting with other types of standards, and also when it comes to detailing and quality and building cost, is a very big difference from our local market here in Sweden. So I must say that I'm very, very happy and surprised that there is such an interest for trying to do something out of the ordinary for a residential project. But the idea is here, you see the plinth, everything is in situ concrete, all the terraces is in situ, and the columns. And then we have actually everything on the building it's either is aluminium powder coated, or it's concrete. And we have some steel also for the railing, but everything is powder coated in a matte paint with a bit of a structure. So I mean, everything is just abstract, so it's just volumes and surfaces. This is the entrance to the office floor, and you can see that the facade is you have the concrete, and you have the terraces that are these load-bearing columns. And then you have everything in between is just a layering of metal. It's almost like the idea I had, it was that it was like a scenery layering on a traditional theater, that there's layers of metal sheet, of windows, of curtains, of sun protection. So it's just layering, sort of like when you're inside it and you look out, or the opposite, that you're a part of a scene. When these images were took, the building was not really ready on the inside, but here you can see the office floor, that you have this plinth on the outside is like a layer or a boundary, a protection when you're on the inside towards the outside. Here is, of course, there is a floor missing, so this will not be this high, but this is just big sliding aluminium windows here. This is the facade to the east, and you see the plinth, and where there's openings, there's just a cut in the plinth like this. And here you see the plinth and the layering of the facade, this aluminium sheet, and then there's a window. So there's actually a cavity on top and on the bottom here that also creates the illusion of even more layering. And you can also see it quite well here. Otherwise, there is not much of a detailing. It's just, I mean, I kind of like the technical facade in contrast or working together with this beautiful concrete. This is a typical floor plan. The floor plan, I mean, I think the building is 7,500 square meters above ground, 60 to 70 apartments. And there is 4 cores and 4 staircases, and the staircases are put on the outside a bit to they're outdoors. The reason for that is that they bring life to the facade and movement as a graphical element, but also in terms of efficiency, price-wise, and so on. They don't need to be heated. And I think they add also to this idea of the inverted skeleton. And there's different types of apartments. The building itself is really thin. It's 13.5 meters, I think, from side to side, and the terraces are approximately 1.8 meters. And you have 3 apartments like this. Now the and bigger apartments in the corners, of course. This is a bit changed depending on, I mean, these apartments are sold, and sometimes they are splitted, or they are two of them are unified to one, and so on. Yeah, it's just a technical cut of the terrace. So this is a in situ terrace, and then on top we have stone plates, and then here we have the layer. We have a grill, and then we have a gutter, and then we have the aluminium sliding door, and you see here that we have a cavity, and we have light fixtures, and we have sun protection, and then we have here we have the aluminium panel, and then we have the window, and then we have the curtains. So there is sort of like a sequence of technical things from the inside to the outside. These are just views from the terraces. I mean, doing a project like this, there's a lot of decisions made on what kind of materials and so that is possible to work with, and in terms of economy and so on. But we just we tried to keep it as simple as possible, just a concrete and this powder coated metal. So this is a result also of the weight, and that it should be possible to have this made in an efficient way. The apartments are not ready yet here, but you can see how they will look a bit. This is the way we visualized the interior, and this would be, some parts would be made like this, where we also have this. This is just renderings interior-wise, but everything is just tone in tone with this gray concrete tone, but it's materialized. It's wood, and it's marble and terrazzo and so on, and soft carpet, but it's just tone in tone. Here's just a long facade, west facade, east actually. On the top terrace, there's just a running track. I think it ended up just a running track because of the length of the building. That we sort of like the idea of having something graphic, geometrical on the roof terrace. And this is the full building in one picture, where you see these flight stairs going up, and you see the cores of the elevators. And you see, I think this image shows quite well the inverted effect of these slabs and the big columns. Actually, on each gable there's a smaller column hole in the middle of the gable that is counterleaving a bit from the plinth, because the plinth couldn't be extended around the corner because of the size of the plot. That's about it. Thank you very much.
At Brickworks Vande Moortel, we make high-quality bricks, slips and clay pavers in unique colors and sizes. With sustainability as one of our key values, we created a brand new high-end brick lab, allowing us to innovate in an eco-friendly way in the various parts of our company and the building solutions we provide. Building further on the sustainable initiatives we already had, such as maximum transport by boats reducing transport emissions, minimizing production waste and reusing it in the production process, and our ecological brick sizes, our new building runs on solar energy, parking spaces are water permeable, and we planted more than 200 trees. With the Green Deal in mind, we believe in ecological and circular building solutions which meet the highest design standards of today. All this without losing our passion that we would love to share with you.